This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. Jiang Bieli asked 3 times in a row and the entire place was silent. No one could accept the challenge. Everyone's eyes swept around, searching for the figures of Bai Ming Lifeng and Cheng Haomiao, but they found nothing. It seemed that these two would not be fighting. Ruan Zimao's emotions were fluctuating violently. He turned to look at Jiang Ruobing with a red face. Jiang Ruobing snorted and turned her head away. A smile appeared on Ruan Hongyu's face. Jiang Churan nodded slightly as well. If Jiang Ruobing married Ruan Zimao, there would be no point for them to be parents. When Jiang Bieli saw that no one responded and was about to announce the end of the competition, a figure suddenly squeezed out from the crowd and stepped onto the stage. It instantly caused an uproar as everyone's eyes gathered on it. It's him? Yun Xiao was slightly surprised, but he immediately understood. Jiang Ruobing also cried out in surprise, "Brother Luo." Ruan Zimao's face immediately darkened and he said coldly, "Who are you?" "Luo Qingyun," the man replied indifferently. Ruan Zimao's brows twitched. He seemed to have heard of this person's reputation before. He laughed coldly and said, "You also want to compete with me?" Luo Qingyun's eyebrows rose, and his lips moved slightly. He sent a message, "I have no intention of fighting with you for Lady Ruobing, but I want the dragon's whisker. As long as you agree to give it to me, I will immediately lose." Ruan Zimao laughed without restraint and said loudly, "You're just an 8 stars marshal supreme. Do you think you're qualified to negotiate with me? Pick up your weapon and fight." Luo Qingyun frowned. "You haven't recovered your vitality yet. I don't want to take advantage of you. You should rest." "No need." Ruan Zimao rejected him immediately. Dealing with an 8-star marshal supreme is just a matter of one move. Let's not waste any more time. With victory in sight, he couldn't wait any longer. He wasn't going to be polite to anyone who tried to stop him. Yun Xiao suddenly laughed and said, "Ruan Zimao lost the championship." The people around were shocked, and Ning Kue also said in surprise, "This Luo Qingyun is indeed hard to see through, but it's not enough to defeat Ruan Zimao, right?" Ruan Hongyu also snorted coldly. No matter how heaven-defying he is, he can only threaten Zimao at most. You can't just say that he lost the championship so easily. Do you have any proof for what you've said? Jiang Churan asked. After all, Jiang Ruobing was his daughter. It was fine for her to marry Ruan Zimao. However, this kid who suddenly appeared was unknown and not a disciple of a large sect. He couldn't help but feel worried. "The basis is that I know Luo Qingyun's strength, and I also know Ruan Zimao's strength," Yun Xiao said with a smile. "That's why I said Ruan Zimao would definitely lose." His words shocked Ruan Hongyu. She looked at the figure in the arena in disbelief. She really didn't know Luo Qingyun's strength, but how strong could an 8 stars marshal supreme be? In the arena, Luo Qingyun hesitated for a moment before saying, "All right, then I'll have to offend you." He clenched his fist and punched out without any fancy moves. He relied on his strength to break the space, making a sharp and ear-piercing sound. Ruan Zimao's heart trembled, and his face was filled with shock. It was clear that the power of this punch had exceeded his imagination. Suddenly, a bad feeling rose in his heart, as if he had made a big mistake. "Good." He instinctively shouted and also turned his palm, pouring all his strength into it. Bang! The two attacks collided in the air, and the violent force of the extreme masculine yang exploded. The two of them were both forced to retreat. How is that possible? Everyone was shocked. The two of them were actually tied after one move. Ruan Hongyu was so shocked that she stood up. She couldn't hide the shock on her face and knew that things weren't good. "I draw." With her eyesight, she could naturally see that Luo Qingyun had not used his full strength in that palm strike, but Ruan Zimao had used his full strength. This had to do with Ruan Zimao's great loss of vitality, but the other party was only an 8 stars marshal supreme. How could the difference be so great? She gave Yunxiao a look of horror. Another freak had appeared. Have you really decided not to rest? Luo Qingyun asked again. Ruan Zimao's face turned green and white. He really wanted to rest and recover his essence energy, but he had already made a promise in front of everyone. How could he take it back? Of course not. He could only grit his teeth. The heaven wave mirror in his hand flashed, and the entire illusion appeared. His figure gradually disappeared into it. With the heaven wave mirror, his chances of winning were still very high. Luo Qingyun gently nodded and said, "Then I won't stand on ceremony." He grabbed with his hand and the Huangshan spear appeared in his hand. A wild and ancient will spread out. He stood there quietly, but it was as if he had stood there for 10,000 years. There was only a spear will that came from the ancient times, and no one else. The audience was full of experts, and the mere illusion array couldn't block their eyes at all. Luo Qingyun's move made everyone's heart tremble, and they knew that things were going to be bad. Yunxiao also looked surprised. It had only been a few days, but Luo Qingyun's strength seemed to have undergone a tremendous change. With the strength he had when they separated, it would not be difficult for him to defeat Ruan Zimao. At this moment, he had entered a mysterious realm, and even he could not see through him without using the moon pupil. Ruan Hongyu's face turned extremely ugly, and her palms were covered in cold sweat. One sword to split the heavens. Ruan Zimao's voice came from the illusionary formation, and it was hard to tell the direction. At the same time, a mocking sneer sounded, "In my skywave illusionary formation, you can't even catch my shadow. How can you fight me?" Luo Qingyun remained silent. He gently pointed to his left and right, and a seal was inserted into the spear. The ancient charms suddenly burst out and transformed into a huge spear shadow around him. The whole spear was shining with golden light, and golden tadpole-like characters emerged on it. There were more than 10 characters, and they were shining one by one. What? This time, even Yunxiao jumped to his feet, his eyes wide with shock. The Maha ancient weapon. Ruan Zimao cried out in shock. Although he was hidden in the illusionary formation, he could still feel a terrifying and dangerous aura. The power in his sword increased by a few notches, and he roared as he attacked with all his might. A few strange syllables came out of Luo Qingyun's mouth, and the two characters on the spear suddenly emitted a dazzling light, covering all the other characters. An unparalleled force was emitted from the spear. Yunxiao's eyes were filled with solemnity. Not only was Luo Qingyun's strength at this moment, but even his aura was completely different from before. A violent aura was hidden under his calm appearance, as if it would explode at any time. Ruan Zimao's sword aura slashed down from all directions. Luo Qingyun's spear turned and the huge spear light that was condensed shot up into the sky. It turned into waves of yuan power pressure and spread out, actually blocking the sword aura. What? Ruan Hongyu's heart trembled. The other party was able to block Ruan Zimao's full-powered sword with just the power of his spear. How could they fight? Boom, boom, boom. The entire sword force fell apart under the spear's light. The illusory formation disappeared in an instant. Blood sprayed down from the sky. Ruan Zimao was suddenly jolted to the arena and vomited blood. What was going on? How could it be like this? The people below the stage were all shocked. They didn't see what had happened, but they could only see this completely incomprehensible result. Ruan Zimao's body convulsed violently on the stage, constantly vomiting blood. His eyes were filled with despair, and his heart was filled with frustration and hesitation. His injuries worsened, and he didn't even have the strength to stand up. Ruan Hongyu's face was also pale. She sat down dejectedly, her face pale. Ning Kuyue asked Yunxiao, "Do you know Luo Qingyun well? How is he?" Everyone perked up their ears. They were extremely curious about this newcomer who had suddenly appeared. Even Jiang Charan turned around. Yunxiao laughed. His character is just SOSO. He can't be compared with me. He's better than most people. However, I don't think he will become the son-in-law of the Red Moon City. He should be here for the dragon's secret treasure. Ning Qiue's face turned cold and she said coldly, since he won the competition, it's not up to him to decide whether he wants to or not. Yunxiao shook his head with a wry smile. Luo Qingyun had participated in the competition purely for the dragon's beard, and he was afraid that he would cause trouble this time. Luo Qingyun looked up and nodded at Jiang Ruobing. Second miss, I'm sorry. I'm here for the dragon's secret treasure, not for the marriage. Voila. Everyone was shocked and in an uproar. Ruan Zimao, who was lying on the fighting ring, felt great regret. If he had not been so arrogant and had agreed to his conditions at the beginning, how good would it have been? He would not have ended up in this state. Not only had he lost the opportunity, but he had also lost all his face in front of the heroes of the world. He felt extremely remorseful and desperate. Impudent. Ruan Hongyu shouted, since it's a martial arts competition, you have to find a groom. Otherwise, it'll be invalid and you can get lost. Luo Qingyun glanced at Jiang Ruobing and knew that she didn't want to become a chess piece. He turned around and ignored Ruan Hongyu, pretending not to hear her. Ruan Hongyu's face turned white with anger, but she couldn't do anything about it. The other party had been playing by the rules so far and hadn't broken any rules. Are there any other participants? Jiang Bieli asked as per usual. This caused quite a commotion below. After all, Luo Qingyun's strength as an 8-star martial supreme was clear for all to see. Not many people clearly saw how Ruan Zimao had lost, and they were all getting restless instead. Luo Qingyun? It's been a long time since we last met, you've improved quite a bit. Suddenly, the dark clouds changed color, and the entire sky turned gloomy. An overbearing force condensed above the arena, and a cold voice came down, laughing strangely. You're also looking for dragon's secret treasures? What a pity, I'm taking this dragon beard. Lightning flashed within the dark clouds, and there was a faint image of a dragon and a tiger leaping within. Slowly, it condensed into the appearance of a man who strode down from the clouds. Who are you? Jiang Bieli frowned and shouted. That person snorted lightly and retracted the strange phenomenon around him. Under the gaze of tens of thousands of people, he stepped onto the ring with both feet and said proudly, Are you O Xiang of the Northern Sea? Are you O Xiang of the Northern Sea? The moment these words entered everyone's ears, they were all stunned, as if they had never heard it before. Only a few martial arts ancestors' expressions changed drastically as they immediately understood the meaning behind it. Yunxiao's pupils constricted as well. Oh no. The man was Ruo Xiang, who was standing on Songyueyang City. He was indeed from the royal family of the North Sea. He must have come here for the dragon artifact. Based on the strength that Ruo Xiang had displayed in Songyueyang City, Luo Qingyun was not his opponent at all. Guang, Qin, Shun, and Ruo were the surnames of the 4 seas, the royal families. Only some of the continent's top experts knew about them. This person's dragon chi was surging when he appeared just now, and his surname was Ruo. There was no doubt that he was from the Northern Sea's royal family. Jiang Churen's face turned serious as she said slowly, So you're a guest from the sea race. It's my honor to have you come to my Crimson Moon City. What? The Sea Tribe? This time, the crowd burst into an uproar. There was basically no interaction between the sea race and human beings. The most recent impression was that Gu Feiyang had provoked them decades ago. The Bo family, the sovereign of the 4 seas, had personally led people to the Holy Region to seek justice. In the end, the Holy Region had closed the entrance and pretended to be dead. It was a great humiliation to the human race. Therefore, when everyone heard that they were from the sea race, they were all filled with hostility. However, the powerful impression of the sea race still made everyone feel fearful. There are even more glorious things to come. You're about to become my father-in-law, but as the Lord of Red Moon City, you do have the right to do so, Ruo Xiang said with a proud smile. What? He's here to participate in the arena? Nonsense. The sea race is also participating in the human race's competition. Isn't this a mess? There were fierce voices of opposition all around, and more people began to shout, Get lost. For a time, the atmosphere of hatred rose and fell. Jiang Churan furrowed her brows and said, "We're of different races. How can we intermarry? As a member of the royal family of the North Sea, we welcome you to the Red Moon City for tea and moon viewing. Oh, this Luo Qingyun in front of you can be considered half human and half demon, and interracial marriage is not allowed. Did you explain this when you announced to the world that you're competing for a spouse? When I came all the way from the North Sea, you said that intermarriage was not allowed. Are you toying with my sea tribe?" Ruo Xiang's face was cold, and when he spoke to the end, he looked fierce but was actually timid, and waves of coldness spread out from his body. The expressions of the people of Red Moon City changed slightly. The words "toying with the sea race" could be light or heavy. Moreover, the other party was a royal family of the North Sea. The weight of the words coming from him was worth pondering. Jiang Churan felt a headache coming on. At this moment, every word he said represented the attitude of the Red Moon City. In front of the heroes of the world, he could not lose his bearing. At the same time, he could not become enemies with the sea race. Otherwise, it would be troublesome if a war between the two races was triggered. Humans lacked knowledge of the sea race's overall strength. Even the sanctuary realm had avoided war. With Jiang Churan's steady and cautious character, he did not dare to speak of war lightly. However, Ning Kuyue couldn't care less. She sneered and said, "What a joke. My Red Moon City announces to the world that the right of interpretation naturally belongs to us. Whoever we want to participate will participate, and whoever we don't want to participate will have to get lost. Now, you, get out of my sight. Otherwise, don't say that I didn't give your sea race face." Ruo Xiang's expression changed drastically as he looked at the person who spoke. His gaze instantly turned to the side as he said in shock, "Li Yunxiao. You're here too?" Ning Kuyue, Jiang Churan, Ruan Hongyu, and the other high-level officials of Red Moon City all looked at Yunxiao with strange expressions. How did he know all these strange people? It seemed like birds of a feather really did flock together. "Ruo Xiang," Yunxiao said with a faint smile. "It's not that enemies don't meet." A hint of excitement flashed across Ruo Xiang's face as he sneered. "I've worn out my iron shoes and searched high and low. My lord, I can leave if you want, but leave Long Su and Li Yunxiao to me, and I'll leave without a word." "Li Yunxiao is an honored guest of our Red Moon City," Jiang Churan said. "This dragon's secret treasure is my daughter's dowry. It's really difficult to agree to such a condition for no reason. No matter what, I must obtain this dragon's beard today. If you humans still have the slightest bit of courage, then let me participate in this joust for a spouse event. Otherwise..." He raised his middle finger and fell down in disdain. He said sarcastically, "It's a race of cowards." The crowd was furious, each and every one of them was filled with righteous indignation as they roared endlessly. "Fuck off. You're just a sea beast, and you dare to have designs on my human beauty. Coward, your sister. Go back and hug your big sea leopard." All kinds of curses and ridicule were being hurled at Jiang Churan. Jiang Churan felt a great headache. If they let the battle go, it would be fine if the humans won. But if they lost, the entire Red Moon City would fall into the hands of the world. This battle not only concerned his daughter's fate, but also the honor and disgrace of the human race. With Jiang Churan's insight, he could not see through the other party's strength. He only had a faint feeling that it was not simple, so he did not dare to start a war. It's just a battle, what's so difficult about it? Just as everyone was arguing, scolding, and laughing, Luo Qingyun held his spear horizontally and spoke coldly. His momentum soared to the ninth heaven. After seeing Ruo Xiang, his mood had also fluctuated greatly. At this moment, the aura on his body was like a dormant beast, ready to reveal its fangs at any time. The martial artists near the ring were so shocked that they retreated again and again. They were intimidated by the noble spirit and felt a chill in their hearts. He had never felt this way before, not even during the battle between Wan Zimao and Zhu Xuanqi. "I like your courage." Ruo Xiang sneered as he closed in step by step and said, "Let me see what kind of limits you can reach as a defective product." Come, use all your strength to hit me, let's see how much you've improved. Luo Qingyun didn't say anything. He picked up his spear and rushed up. He thrust his spear in the air. Golden light shone on it, like a fierce beast from the primordial era opening its fangs. Ruo Xiang was stunned for a moment, and a drop of cold sweat seeped out of his forehead. The power of this spear was far beyond his expectations. He had originally planned to fight with his bare hands, but his thoughts had also changed. He also stabbed out with his battle spear, and the two extreme forces collided together. Luo Ho's attack. Boom. A huge explosive force blasted out, forcing the two of them to retreat. The defense of the entire ring was squeezed until it was colorful and dazzling. Under the might of this spear, all the sound stopped, and everyone held their breath and focused on it. Jiang Churan felt a great headache, but the battle had already started, so he could only wait and see. However, no matter what, he could not let Ruo Xiang leave in victory. Otherwise, his Red Moon City would become a laughingstock. Hey, what's that weapon in your hand? Ruo Xiang was shocked and instantly revealed a greedy expression. He laughed and said, I want it. The Luoho spear in his hand was transformed from a dragon artifact, so he couldn't use it when he transformed into a dragon. However, the power of Luo Qingyun's spear seemed to be above his dragon artifact. The divine spear already has an owner. What qualifications do you have? Luo Qingyun sneered. After killing Wen Lin, the desolate god moon spear seemed to come to life. The weapon spirit inside was slowly communicating and integrating with him. The terrifying wild will of the spear was something that even his divine sense would tremble with fear every time it touched. I heard that you've obtained a lot of dragon's secret treasures, which will save me the trouble of looking for them one by one. Golden runes began to flash on the desolate god's spear. An ancient aura began to appear around Luo Qingyun's body. At that moment, his entire body began to transform into a demon. Green scales covered his entire body, revealing the form of a demon dragon. That wild and ferocious power wreaked havoc on the stage, making people feel intimidated. Bang! Luo Qingyun's body shot out in an instant, and the profound level weapon stage under his feet caved in directly, making a violent trembling sound. The spectators' hearts skipped a beat. Such explosive power could only be achieved by a demon body with an ancient bloodline. It was enough to fight with a martial artist with just its physical body. Ruo Xiang's pupils constricted, and he put away his contemptuous heart. He snorted coldly and said, although you have the same dragon body, you're nothing compared to my pure bloodline. He roared loudly, and a dragon's roar shook the 9 heavens. His body began to change violently, and the extent was much more intense than Luo Qingyun's. The Luo Ho spear in his hand turned into a long spine with white bones, and he suddenly lashed out. Luo Qingyun's body suddenly stopped, and he felt a slight tremble under the dragon roar. It was the weakness of his bloodline. He was suppressed by the other party. He said in fear, your bloodline is dense. Ruo Xiang revealed a fierce expression and suddenly laughed wildly, and said, my bloodline has already been purified to the point that it's infinitely close to atavism. It's not on the same level as you defective products. Luoho 9-foot whip. The spine was raised in his hand and bent into the shape of a long dragon. A terrifying dragon's might was emitted from Yun Xiang's body, and the cultivators outside the ring were all trembling in fear. Under that pressure, they couldn't help but have the urge to kneel down and worship. Boom. The spine of the dragon struck out with a loud bang and shook the desolate god's spear radiance. It broke through Luo Qingyun's overbearing and ferocious essence and blasted into his body. Bang! With just one move, Luo Qingyun's demon dragon body's chest was blasted into a bloody mess. He was sent flying to the ground. He trembled as he used the origami spear to prop up his body, but his legs were trembling. It was a fear that came from the depths of his soul. The pressure from his bloodline made it difficult for him to resist the power of the Dragon King. The more he circulated his dragon power, the more he wanted to kneel down. You motherfucker. He, who had always been calm, finally couldn't help but curse. Although his body was intimidated, that extremely powerful martial essence would never admit defeat. Clang. Luo Qingyun gritted his teeth and forcefully suppressed the trembling of his body. He charged forward while dragging the godly spear. The spear light swept across the area. Although the aura was shocking, the higher-ups of the Red Moon City all shook their heads one by one, and their faces became ugly. Not to mention the suppression of the bloodline level, even they felt that the qi and blood in their bodies were not flowing smoothly, and there was an extremely oppressive and uncomfortable feeling. In this case, Luo Qingyun had no chance of winning. Yunxiao's face flickered as well. This Ruo Xiang was even more powerful than when he was in Songhua City, and the power of the dragon might was only the tip of the iceberg of his true dragon's sai.